Good evening, dear tutor. We are the group number 3, and we are going to explain about code switching or code mixing. So to begin with the topic, code switching consists of using more than one language during the same communicative act. So we have the participant, solidarity, and status. There are different reasons why a speaker switches from one language to another. A speaker may use a code switching to express solidarity or status with a particular address participating in a communicative act. So code switching also demonstrates that a speaker shares a cultural background with a group of people. It is a statement to the speaker's ethnicity. We have an example that a multiple person often code switches to communicative with a monolingual person. A Spanish speakers may say, hello, how are you? Hi, creería que all very well. Sí, sí, todo bien. And you? To talk, to talk with someone who only speak English. So here we can see the mixtures of two languages, that is English and speaking, in one conversation. Thank you.
Now let's talk about the topic. Topic is one of the most important parts when we establish a conversation. Okay, we have to know that some of the people change codes when they are talking about certain topics, and they feel comfortable with a specific type of topic with respect to others. So basically, some people prefer to talk about topics that they know. Basically, for example, Ecuadorians in US and USA can talk in English about topics that they associate with their country. For example, the Amazon or tropical food. Let's talk about the affective functions. Okay, when we talk in any language, we express affective emotions, basically. In this case, the way people talk, the accent or the voice tone make people understand the message. It means that you don't have to speak the language, but the body language that you use, of the voice tone that you use, it can express and can give the message to the other person. So if people talk in an explosive way, for example, shooting at someone, it could express a disagreement or discontent. Thank you.
Well, hello, everybody. Now, we're going to be talking about the lexical borrowing, which in this case is actually taking words, often nouns, from the first language and transferring them to the second language. In this case, is a phenomenon known as code switching. Now, it is said that code switching can be used consciously, but frequently occurs unconsciously, and many individuals aren't even aware that they're doing it. Now, why or when do people use code switching? In this case, we understand that they use it to create a sentence of belonging for successful communication, to fill lexical gaps, to exclude others, to exchange register, because it's natural. Under this context, we can provide an example. So when we use the word Wi-Fi in English, and you want to adapt it into another language or in another country, you will use code switching and you will adapt it into Wi-Fi. And that creates a path to acceptance to this person into a community or group of people. Thank you.
Well, I am going to talk about linguistic constraints. When coding in a new language and trying to switch language, linguistic constraints are principles that predict what is allowed and what is not. Linguistic constraint is typically used to represent a property that an object must have in order to function properly in a modern linguistic. There is a wide range of constraints in nature, include general or universal constraints, as well as very specific constraints. Each language has its own set of rules or constraints that determine what can and what cannot be said. For example, in Spanish, we can say traficar, and in Italiano, we can say traficare. Just possible switch point. Thank you.
Hello. Now we have attitudes to code switching. But remember, code switching is an unconscious process which occurs when people switch between two languages. But in some countries like North America and Britain, where a large number of monolingual groups live, do not accept this type of behavior and cause negative reactions and attitudes to them. However, the ability to communicate and express concrete thoughts by means of producing meaningful construction of symbols allow human beings to send and receive information in a reflective way. So the opposite occurs in multilingual communities such as PNG and East Africa, where people's attitudes to code switching are positive. Thank you so much. That was our participation.